NFL Hall of Famer, one of the few coaches in the history of the sport. Natties in college, Super Bowls multiple in the NFL. It's Jimmy Johnson. He is joining us live. As the country gets cold, he's down in the Keys wearing a workout shirt. You know he picked the right place to live. So,
I'm going fishing in about 15 minutes, Colin.
Okay.
So I'll take this shirt off and get on the boat.
All right. I'll wrap it up quick, and you can grab a Heineken and fish it for me as well. All right. Here we go. So I said about Dallas, they are good at home with a lead. I thought yesterday you just had a franchise that I've seen this 3 times this year. They clobber somebody. It's almost as if there is a recipe for Dallas. Now they got to go to Philadelphia, and I kind of know what I'm going to see there. Is there a way to create continuity and a more even Cowboy effort? Because I think like Buffalo and Dallas week to week, I have no idea what I'm getting.
Well, yeah, I think as far as you ask continuity, I would say a running game and defense. If you're really good defensively week in and week out, you're going to be pretty consistent. If you've got a great running game, week in, week out, you're going to be pretty consistent. So, defense in the running game goes on the road extremely well. But this Dallas team, they're extremely talented. And when you're throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb, he can make some things happen. So you look at against Philadelphia, I think the whole key is going to be which receiver is going to have a hot day, CeeDee Lamb or A.J. Brown, and who's going to be able to keep from turning the ball over. The turnovers will determine the game. But I think Dallas can beat Philadelphia this week.
So I had suggested the Derrick Henry move at the trade deadline, and you were somebody that was willing to make moves. He's a 1. Tony Pollard feels like a 2, a dynamic 2. Your thoughts about trade deadline moves for the Cowboys? Is there anything, you'd pull the trigger on this, you did. Is there anything they should be a little cautious about? Is there anything you dip your toe in? Tomorrow's the trade deadline.
I think the big concern would be financially, if it's going to wreck your salary cap totally. But if there's room, and if you can justify it with your salary cap, without question, Henry would give them a complete football team.
Yeah,
they'd be able. Now, I think it would make Pollard that much better player because he's kind of a fringe player, and if you're bulking up on the inside to stop the tough running game, Pollard can make some big plays, going outside and hitting an open seam. But they are close to a complete football team right now. But a running game, a really physical running game, would make them better.
So I watched, you're down by the Dolphins, and I said that they were a little bit of a fraud early where they weren't a physical team, it was a track team. But when I watched them yesterday, they put away a Patriots team. And I want to ask you, Jimmy, in all your years of football, did you ever have a team that was a bit constructed like Miami, lots of speed, questions about their physicality? Can you change that in the final 8 weeks of a season?
I think the big thing about the Dolphins right now is having Vic Fangio on defense. There were some local writers and people here in South Florida were asking me when the Dolphins were struggling defensively early. I said, just be patient. First of all, you got some injuries on defense. Fangio is an outstanding fundamental football coach, and they will get better as the season gets on. Now, if they can get, the X-Man at one corner and Jalen Ramsey at the other corner, both healthy, they'll be that much better. So, I'm not one to have an offense that's not going to be able to run the ball well, but people are so afraid of those receivers, it opens up some seams for the running game. I mean, Tyreek Hill, he's unbelievable. I don't care what kind of coverage you have. He's going to get behind you.
Yeah. And I'll say this about Mike McDaniel. He's not a coach that needs to be right. He looks like he's a guy that wants the solution to problems, right? He's not dogmatic. If you could tell him this will make you better, I think he would listen to Fangio.
The players love playing for him. I think he's got the right formula right now with the team that he's got, with the talent. He's running an offense that really suits his talent. He's a smart football coach, and I think hey, they could very well be, right there at the end in the mix. Because I don't see anybody in the AFC other than if Joe Burrow gets hot, there in Cincinnati, that's going to give them a problem. I think Kansas City's on the downhill slide. All it would take on Kansas City is if Travis Kelce, if he was to get hurt, they would struggle offensively.
Oh, yeah.
But that defense is carrying them right now.
Joe Burrow was coming out, Jimmy. My comp was a better version of Tony Romo. He can move, not a huge arm, elusive. And he's obviously, he is better than Tony Romo, but I always liked Tony. I always thought Tony was not only a good broadcaster, was a very good quarterback. Burrow's fascinating to me because, Jimmy, it's not a size thing. It's not an athletic ability thing. It's not an arm thing. What is the juice with him? What do you see?
Well, Norv Turner, who's a close friend and really does a great job with quarterbacks, was around some great quarterbacks, Dan Fauci, Coach Aikman, on and on. And so he was with the group that worked out all the quarterbacks as they got ready for the draft, the Sam Darnolds, the Baker Mayfields, on and on. And he called me and he said, Joe Burrow has got more of what you want in a quarterback than any quarterback I've ever seen.
Wow.
This is before the draft. He said he has got extreme confidence. He's got a great arm. He's got a great feel for the game. He said he's better than anything I've ever seen.
Wow.
This was before the draft. And Burrow was proving it. You love to have him as the leader of your football team. You love to have him as the key guy throwing the football. He is a special talent. You just don't see it come around that often.
Yeah. It's almost anybody could see an Aikman or a Josh Allen. It is interesting that you and by the way, in your career, you leaned on guys, your offensive line coaches. Personnel is really hard. So speaking of that, and I don't want to pick on a kid, but one of the first things that concerns me when I see a young quarterback is that do they miss the layups? I'm not asking you to throw it down the field like Mahomes. You got to go 10 for 10 on stuff in the flat. Drag routes, underneath stuff. That was really what turned me off initially from Zach Wilson. He's missing the easy stuff. You got to go 10 for 10. I see Jordan Love, Jimmy, and he's missing a lot of easy stuff, and it really concerns me. What do you see?
Yeah, we used to have a kind of a joke, a running joke that somebody said that they watched Troy Aikman in practice and the ball never hit the ground. But that was true. It shouldn't hit the ground if you're throwing against air. If a quarterback, number one, you want him to be a great decision maker, but number two, he's got to be accurate. I don't know that you ever improve the accuracy of a quarterback. And if you've got an inaccurate quarterback, you're never going to be able to count on him in the crucial times. So if you don't have an accurate quarterback, you better draft one.
So I think Sean Payton, the lift, and you've done this before, Jimmy, Oklahoma State, Miami, Dallas, where you come in and you got to change some stuff. Then you get in the building and you got to change more than you thought. The culture, the O-line, the staff, the owner's crazy. I think Sean got to Denver and went, I thought I had 3 lifts. I got about 6. They can't even get the lunchroom. They can't get the lunchroom right here. But I got to tell you, he's now using Russell like Pete Carroll did, complementary to the run game. And I watched yesterday, and I'm like, I know Mahomes was sick, but I think you can win 7, 8, 9 games playing like that. I didn't think it was luck. That was my take.
Yeah. You run the football. Russell Wilson's got talent. He's proven that over the years. As far as going into a losing situation, I didn't realize Dallas was so bad until I got there. I looked around when I first got there. They didn't even have an indoor weight room. It was, they had a I said, "Where's all the players?" They said, "It's too cold to work out here. Nobody works out here in the off season." I said, "That's going to change." And then I looked at the roster and I went, "Oh my God." So I cut my starting quarterback. No, I traded my starting quarterback, Steve Pallor. I traded him to Kansas City for a 3. And I cut my leading receiver because he couldn't outrun me. And so I was in total shock as far as the talent level. But they had Tom Landry. They had a great coaching staff. And they had 3 straight losing seasons. They were 3-13 with Tom Landry. So you had to change some things. Well, Sean's in a little bit better shape. He's got a quarterback that can win. Just run the football, protect your quarterback, let him make a few plays, and get some young guys on defense.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.